Have you ever wondered how a tiny nation surrounded by enemies continues to thrive and survive against all odds? Could there be more to Israel's victories than just military strategy? What if divine intervention has played a crucial role in its survival? Let's uncover the miracles that prove God fights for Israel. In this video, we'll dive into 7 incredible war miracles that have not only stunned the world but also strengthened the faith of millions. From divine protection in the Six-Day War to modern-day interventions, these events go beyond human explanation, pointing to something far greater, a divine hand guiding and shielding Israel. Join us as we explore 7 powerful miracles in Israel's history, each one a testimony of God's faithfulness and His protection over His chosen people. These aren't just tales of military strategy, they are acts of divine intervention that continue to unfold before our eyes. Let's begin with the Six-Day War of 1967. 1. The Six-Day War, 1967. A military miracle. In June 1967, Israel faced an overwhelming challenge. Surrounded by enemies, Egypt, Jordan, Syria, and Iraq, Israel was outnumbered and outgunned. These nations were united by a single goal: to annihilate Israel. Their combined forces were more than 5 times the size of Israel's military, and their leaders openly declared their intent to wipe the Jewish state off the map. But in just 6 days, Israel achieved a victory that shocked the world. Not only did Israel defend itself, but it expanded its territory dramatically, capturing the Sinai Peninsula, the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, the Golan Heights, and East Jerusalem. Israel's size tripled overnight. The miracle, however, didn't just lie in the military strategy. Many believe that divine intervention played a crucial role in Israel's improbable success. One of the most powerful stories comes from a small Israeli unit of only 150 soldiers facing thousands of Egyptian forces. The odds were stacked against them, but the soldiers experienced something inexplicable. As they advanced, the Egyptian forces suddenly fled in panic, leaving behind tanks, weapons, and positions. Some of the Egyptian soldiers later claimed they saw terrifying, glowing figures standing behind the Israeli soldiers, visions of angels, according to some witnesses. Whether you interpret this as divine intervention or coincidence, the fear that gripped the Egyptian soldiers was real. This victory was not only a military achievement, but a fulfillment of prophecy. For the first time in nearly 2 millennia, Jewish soldiers reached the Western Wall in Jerusalem, the holiest site in Judaism. Many of the soldiers dropped to their knees and wept, feeling as though they were fulfilling the prophecy of Israel's return to their ancient land. For them, it was a spiritual moment, confirming that God's promises to Israel were being realized. For believers, this war was more than just a political conflict. It was seen as a miraculous act of God's protection. In the midst of overwhelming opposition, God's hand appeared to be guiding Israel to victory. The Six-Day War became a symbol of Israel's divine protection, reaffirming faith in God's covenant with His people. This event serves as a powerful reminder that God's purposes cannot be thwarted, even when the odds seem insurmountable. The story of the Six-Day War shows us that God's faithfulness to Israel extends beyond politics or military might. It is a testament to His power, protection, and the ongoing fulfillment of biblical prophecy. For Christians, it's a call to remember that God fights for His people. Even when the world seems against us, God is at work behind the scenes, orchestrating victories that no one could predict. And as we face our own battles, we are reminded that God's protection is always available to those who trust in His power and promises. Israel's victory in the Six-Day War wasn't just about military strategy. It was a miracle that defied logic and human understanding, pointing to the hand of God working in history. 2. The Yom Kippur War, 1973. Divine protection. On October 6, 1973, Israel found itself unprepared for an attack that came on the holiest day in Judaism, Yom Kippur. Egypt and Syria launched a surprise offensive against Israel, catching its defenses off guard. Israel's soldiers were mostly at home, observing the sacred day, and many of the country's reserves were not yet mobilized. The situation seemed dire, and the chances of survival were slim. Despite being caught off guard, Israel mounted a determined defense. However, it was clear that Israel's military wasn't prepared for the scale of the attack, and the odds seemed impossible. But then, a series of events unfolded that left many believing God intervened. One powerful moment came on the Golan Heights. A lone Israeli tank commander had just one shell left, and dozens of Syrian tanks were approaching. The commander fired the last shell, and to everyone's surprise, the Syrian tanks stopped. The commander later reported that his men believed they had walked into a trap. The Syrians retreated, even though the Israelis had no reinforcements. Some said they saw a miracle unfolding before their eyes. As the battle continued, a powerful fog rolled in unexpectedly. This dense fog covered the movements of Israel's forces, allowing them to maneuver and launch a counterattack. The fog stayed just long enough for Israel to regain the initiative and turn the tide of battle. When the fog lifted, Israel was in a much stronger position to fight back. The timing of this fog was considered by many to be a sign of divine protection. It wasn't simply a weather event. It was seen as God's intervention, ensuring that Israel had the opportunity to defend itself and counterattack. The weather and the fog, along with the unlikely retreat of Syrian forces, pointed to a divine hand at work. As the conflict unfolded, Israel's military leaders witnessed countless miraculous moments that they could not explain by ordinary strategy. The tide of the war shifted in favor of Israel, despite being unprepared, outnumbered, and under attack from both Egypt and Syria. Many of the soldiers and civilians who lived through the war share powerful stories of survival. A common testimony is that the victory felt like a divine intervention. They believed God was actively protecting his people, guiding them through moments of uncertainty and danger. This event serves as a powerful reminder that even in our weakest moments, when we feel unprepared or overwhelmed, God is working behind the scenes to protect us. Just as he had promised to fight for Israel, he was faithful to that promise during the Yom Kippur War. It also highlights the importance of trusting in God, even when the odds are stacked against us. When everything seems impossible, God's power can turn the situation around. For Christians, the Yom Kippur War is a reminder of God's faithfulness to his people and his constant protection. It is a call to trust in his divine guidance, knowing that even in the most uncertain times, he is with us. Whether we are facing personal struggles or global conflicts, we can take comfort in the fact that God's hand is always working on our behalf. 3. Operation Entebbe, 90 minutes of divine precision. In 1976, an Air France plane was hijacked by terrorists, and the passengers were taken to Uganda, where they were held hostage in a terminal at the Entebbe airport. The hijackers, who were demanding the release of prisoners in Israel, made it clear that the passengers, many of whom were Israeli citizens, would be killed if their demands were not met. With time running out, the world's eyes turned to Israel. Would they be able to rescue the hostages? Would they be able to pull off a mission of such scale and complexity? The answer came swiftly in the form of Operation Entebbe, one of the most daring rescue operations in modern history. Israeli commandos, known for their skill and courage, launched an operation that would save the lives of over 100 hostages in just 90 minutes. The situation appeared to be impossible. The hostages were thousands of miles away in Uganda, at an airport surrounded by enemy forces. The airport was heavily guarded, and any misstep could lead to a bloodbath. But Israel's forces had something that went beyond just training and equipment. They had divine protection. The Israeli commandos stormed the terminal in the dead of night. They arrived unexpectedly in complete darkness, ensuring complete surprise. Every detail seemed to align perfectly. The landing, the element of surprise, the communication, and even the escape. All of it seemed to fall into place with an almost supernatural precision. Many involved in the operation later testified that it felt as if something beyond human control was guiding them. The whole mission went flawlessly, and in just 90 minutes, all hostages were safely rescued, with only 3 casualties, one of whom was Yonatan Netanyahu, the older brother of Israel's future Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. For the soldiers and civilians involved, this operation was a clear demonstration of God's hand at work. While Israel's military expertise and commandos' bravery were undeniable, many believed that the success of the mission was far beyond what could be explained by military strategy alone. The entire operation had the feel of a miracle. This event is considered by many to be a modern-day miracle. From the timing of the mission to the flawless execution, it felt as though God had intervened to ensure the safety of his people. The mission was not just about military precision, it was about divine protection. The perfect alignment of circumstances, the careful execution, and the lack of major casualties spoke to something much larger than just human planning. For Christians, this miracle offers a powerful reminder that, even in seemingly impossible situations, God can step in and guide his people toward deliverance. When facing danger, obstacles, or challenges, we can trust that God is there, working on our behalf, orchestrating events beyond our understanding. Operation Entebbe stands as a shining example of God's ability to deliver his people, no matter how dire the circumstances may appear. It shows that even when we are faced with overwhelming odds, divine intervention is always at hand, ready to make the impossible possible. As believers, we must have faith that God is actively involved in our lives and that he will guide us, just as he guided Israel's commandos during this miraculous rescue mission. 4. The Gulf War, a nation protected. In 1991, Israel faced one of its most terrifying threats during the Gulf War. Iraq, under the rule of Saddam Hussein, launched 39 Scud missiles aimed directly at Israel. These were large, deadly weapons, and the fear among Israelis was palpable. Many worried that Hussein might use chemical or biological warheads, which only intensified the sense of dread. People rushed to take precautions, with gas masks distributed across the nation, families sealing rooms with plastic, and the entire country bracing for the worst. However, as the missiles rained down, something extraordinary happened. Against all odds, Israel suffered only minor injuries. Despite the scale of the threat, the damage was far less than expected. One missile hit a large apartment building in Tel Aviv, causing it to collapse. But miraculously, no one was home. Just moments before the missile struck, the building had been evacuated for reasons that remain unclear. In another case, a Scud missile landed in a densely populated area but did not explode. The warhead failed to detonate, sparing countless lives. Statistically, with 39 missiles launched at major cities, hundreds should have been killed, but the casualties were minimal, just 2 deaths and a few injuries. This was far from ordinary, and many Israelis could not explain it by luck alone. Religious leaders quickly attributed this to divine intervention. They believed the protection Israel experienced during this war was not a result of human effort or military defense alone, but a visible sign of God's hand in the nation's survival. Psalm 121, a well-known passage among Israelis, became a source of comfort. He who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. For believers, this psalm echoed throughout the war, a reminder that God was watching over his people. This remarkable protection was not just a one-time occurrence. For many, it was a reaffirmation of God's covenant with Israel, as promised in the Bible. The protection during the Gulf War was a testament to the fact that God has not forgotten his people. Despite the dire situation and the terrifying missile attacks, God's providence shielded Israel in a way that defied logic. One of the most striking stories involved the people who lived in areas where missiles hit. Many described feeling a sense of peace amidst the chaos. Some even felt prompted to evacuate certain areas at just the right moment, avoiding the direct blast of missiles. In the aftermath, many expressed that they had experienced an inexplicable sense of divine protection. These experiences were not just stories of chance. They were seen as divine reminders that Israel's survival is part of a larger divine plan. For Christians, this serves as a powerful lesson in faith and trust. God's protection is not limited to the pages of history but continues in our lives today. The Gulf War miracles remind us that God watches over his people in every storm. Whether it's a national crisis or personal battles, God's faithfulness endures. The world may be filled with fear and uncertainty, but the belief that God is actively protecting us should be a source of peace. Israel's survival through the Gulf War is a clear sign that God's hand continues to guide and protect his chosen people, as he has promised in Scripture. This miracle is a testimony to God's faithfulness and a call for believers to trust in His protection, even when the world around them seems chaotic and uncertain. 5. The Iron Dome, technology or divine intervention. Since 2011, Israel has been facing a constant barrage of rocket attacks, particularly from Gaza. These rockets target civilian areas, schools, hospitals, and even playgrounds. To protect its citizens, Israel developed the Iron Dome, a cutting-edge missile defense system designed to intercept and destroy rockets mid-air, preventing destruction and saving countless lives. The Iron Dome is impressive in its precision, intercepting rockets in a matter of seconds. But even in the face of such advanced technology, there are moments when something extraordinary happens, moments that seem beyond human explanation. One of the most remarkable cases occurred when a rocket fired towards a school building full of children was intercepted by the Iron Dome. However, in a rare instance, the rocket missed its target. Seconds before impact, the rocket inexplicably exploded in midair, as if guided by a force beyond the technology. Another incredible incident happened when 3 rockets were fired toward the Israeli city of Ashdod. 2 were intercepted successfully, but the 3rd rocket headed straight for a busy shopping center. As the missile neared, a strong gust of wind blew it off course, sending it harmlessly into an open field. Even the Iron Dome commanders were left speechless, unable to explain what had occurred. One of the commanders later stated, "I witnessed the hand of God. The wind blew the missile exactly where it wouldn't hurt anyone." Our systems didn't do that. For many, these events are not mere coincidences. While the Iron Dome is an incredible technological achievement, these inexplicable moments seem to point to something more, a divine force actively protecting Israel. Some Israelis now see the Iron Dome not just as a technological shield, but as a symbol of God's ongoing protection over His people. Though the system works by identifying and intercepting incoming missiles, the moments when it seems to defy logic are seen as direct interventions from God. This sense of divine protection through technology brings us back to a key biblical teaching. Psalm 121 reminds us, "The Lord watches over Israel. He will neither slumber nor sleep." This promise is echoed in Israel's modern-day experiences with the Iron Dome. As believers, we are reminded that God is not limited to working through the natural world or technology alone. Sometimes He works through the very systems we develop, but at other times, His hand is so evident that even the most advanced defense systems can't explain the outcome. Israelis, both secular and religious, often see these moments as divine reminders that they are not alone in their struggles. God is watching over His people, guiding them even in the face of overwhelming odds. Whether through advanced technology or the inexplicable wind that diverts missiles, God's hand is at work. For Christians, the lessons here are clear. God is our protector, and His care extends even to the smallest details of our lives. The Iron Dome miracle is a testament to the fact that while human ingenuity and technology are invaluable, there are moments when divine intervention is the true force at work. It is a powerful reminder that God is always with us, protecting us from harm, whether through the tools we create or through supernatural means that we may not always understand. As we reflect on these miracles, let us remember to trust in God's protection and timing. Just as He has protected Israel throughout history, He promises to shield and guide us as well, in both the extraordinary and the everyday. 6. Testimonies of miracles. Israel's hidden hand. Miracles in Israel are not always headline news, but they are deeply woven into the fabric of the nation's story. Many soldiers, civilians, and medics in Israel have shared personal testimonies of moments when they were miraculously saved from harm. These are stories of survival that defy logic and have left many wondering, could this be the hand of God at work? One such testimony comes from an Israeli soldier during a fierce battle. He recalls a moment when he was positioned on the front lines and suddenly felt something pull him backward just as a bullet whizzed past where his head had been only moments before. There was no one behind him, no one to explain how he was saved from certain death. His survival seemed inexplicable, and he attributes it to a divine intervention. In another remarkable story, a mother in Sderot, a city near the Gaza border, describes how she and her child had just stepped out of their car when a rocket struck the exact spot they had been standing seconds earlier. She couldn't explain why they moved, but something inside her prompted them to step aside. When the rocket struck, the area was empty. This was another moment when the miraculous was felt, and the mother believes it was God guiding their steps. Then there's the story of an Israeli soldier who had a vivid dream the night before a critical mission. In the dream, he saw an ambush waiting on a narrow road. The next day, he shared the dream with his unit, leading them to change their route. Later, they discovered that the road had indeed been booby-trapped, and the ambush would have cost them dearly. The soldier's warning, based on a dream, saved many lives. These testimonies are just a few among many shared by those who have lived through Israel's wars. Whether in the midst of combat or in civilian areas under threat, these stories emphasize a recurring theme. God is at work in ways that transcend human understanding. For believers, these aren't simply lucky breaks or coincidences. They are powerful reminders that God's hand is active, protecting His people. These quiet miracles often occur on the battlefield, in bomb shelters, or even in everyday moments. They are not widely reported in the news or captured in military reports, but they are known to those who experience them. For many Israelis, these miracles reinforce their belief in God's covenant with His people. It is a deeply spiritual experience to see their survival not just as a stroke of luck, but as a sign of divine intervention. Even secular Israelis who may not fully embrace religious belief have shared similar experiences. They use the term mezal to describe the good fortune they've encountered, but many religious Jews refer to these miraculous moments as Yad Hashem, the hand of God. This phrase is used to describe the clear signs of God's presence in their lives, especially when they are spared from danger against all odds. For Christians, these testimonies serve as a reminder of God's ongoing faithfulness and His constant care. Just as He protected Israel in the past, He continues to intervene in the lives of His people today. These personal miracles are a testament to the fact that God is not distant or uninvolved. He is actively engaged in the lives of His people, guiding and protecting them in times of trouble. As we reflect on these personal stories of survival, let us remember that God's protection is not limited to ancient Israel. It is available to us today as we trust in His sovereignty and lean into His promises. Even in the most challenging moments, God's hand is there, guiding us, providing us with divine protection and wisdom to navigate through life's battles. Conclusion. Throughout history, Israel has been a focal point of divine intervention, and the miracles that have occurred in the nation's wars are powerful evidence of God's unwavering protection. From the Six-Day War to the modern-day miracles witnessed in Israel, these acts of God have strengthened the faith of believers worldwide and continue to affirm His promises to His chosen people. For those who have seen the hand of God in these events, it's not just a matter of military strategy or coincidence. It's a testament to the living God who fights for His people. These miracles serve as reminders of the importance of faith, trust, and recognition of God's sovereignty, not only in Israel but in our own lives. In times of trouble and conflict, God remains a faithful protector and guide, offering divine intervention when all seems lost. As we reflect on these war miracles, let us also remember that God's protection is not just reserved for Israel, but for all who trust in His promises. His hand is at work in the world today, protecting His people, guiding us through our struggles, and preparing us for the fulfillment of His ultimate plan. Whether we are facing personal battles or witnessing global conflicts, we can take comfort in knowing that God's purposes will prevail, and His protection is always within reach. Let us continue to pray for the peace of Israel, for divine protection over the nation, and for the fulfillment of God's promises for His people. May we also recognize the miracles in our own lives, trusting that God's hand is at work, guiding us through every challenge and preparing us for the glorious victory that awaits.